Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everything in between. Welcome back to What's on the Playlist today. Today, I'm going to talk about The Nylon Curtain by Billy Joel, an image of which you will see here. This is Billy Joel's eighth studio album, released in 1982. Billy Joel has said that this is the album he worked the hardest on, spent the most time trying to craft. He really wanted to create like a sonic work of art, a musical work of art. He spent more time crafting this album than any other previous one, and he said it's also the work he's most proud of. It's Billy Joel's signature style. One of the things Billy Joel is really good at in his best songs is that he's able to take, how do I describe this? Not take, but he's able to describe emotions and images in a few short sentences, just brief phrases that are really evocative and really have a lot of depth. So, his best songs are just such great poetry, and they convey a lot of meaning in a very concise way, and this is no different. The album was written in early 80s during the recession era, and that kind of somewhat reflects some of the themes in the album. The opening song is called Allentown, which during the recession, America suffered a lot of job losses, especially in the steel and automotive industries. Allentown's about that. Laura is essentially a song about a woman, someone who knows you and can really press your buttons and make you feel guilty. Billy Joel has said that the main character in the song is a woman. It's not necessarily about women in general. This could be about anyone, man or woman, who basically tries to, like I said, do that to you. Scandinavian Skies. Billy Joel wrote after having a really bad drug experience on an airplane. Where's the Orchestra is a song about a guy who goes to a play expecting a musical, but then it's not a musical, it's just a stage play. And it's kind of like how, he said it's about our expectations not meeting reality. And then, of course, we get to Goodnight Saigon, which is kind of what made me want to talk about this album. It may or may not surprise some of you, but I kind of get an idea for what I want to talk about in this What's on the Playlist thing that I do based on what comes across my shuffle feed. I keep my music on shuffle just for various reasons. I've talked about it, just because I have too much music to pick from, so I just let it play on random, just whatever. And Goodnight Saigon came on. And Goodnight Saigon is definitely one of my favorite Billy Joel songs. It's about Vietnam. And it's unusual to have a pop song about something as deep and controversial, I guess, as Vietnam. Billy Joel has said that he deliberately wrote that song to be non-political. He wrote a song about the soldiers. And while Billy Joel did not actually serve in Vietnam, a lot of his friends did, and not all of them came home. And he talked to the soldiers, he talked to his friends, talked to people that he knew, to try and get a feel for what they went through over there. And he wrote the song about that. It starts at basic training, we met on Paris Island. I don't remember the exact opening lyric. But it's like, song starts on Paris Island in boot camp, to deployment, to we had no home front, we had no soft soap. They sent us Playboy, they gave us Bob Hope. It talks about all the things And my mentioning of how he was able to convey a lot of meaning in such short sentences and short phrases. Remember Charlie, remember Baker. They left their childhood on every acre. These are just some deep, deep words. And it is to honor those people who fought and died, and those who came home as well, as an anthem to them. And by the time he was writing this, Vietnam had been over for 10 years, but it was still something that was talked about. The song is bleak and hopeful and about brotherhood. All the lyrics about the soldiers, there's no I. It's not about an individual perspective. It's always about we, us, ours. So, despite the bleakness, there is also, the initial excitement of going off to war that they prepare you for, and then the grim reality sets in that this is not what they told us it would be, and you learn the lessons or you die. We dug in deep and shot on sight. Who was wrong and who was right, it doesn't matter in the thick of the fight. All these lyrics, all these things. And the refrain that goes through the song a lot is we will all go down together. That's the brotherhood aspect of it. And there was people commented how bleak this was, but there's also that sense of camaraderie and brotherhood that the song conveys as well. And I know that at least one critic from the Rolling Stone was harsh in his criticism, saying that it borderlines on the obscene, that Billy Joel did not make any political commentary with this song, which I feel 50-50 on. I was alive during Vietnam. Obviously, I did not participate. I'm not that old, but my parents and my parents' friends did, and it was a topic of conversation around the house. My parents spoke a lot about Vietnam. It was one of the hot button issues of the day, and my parents were hippies. And like I said, they knew people who went. I know people who went and came back. One of my father's oldest friends, I didn't know he had actually gone to Vietnam until I was a teenager, until I was like 14, and I saw this massive scar on his arm. And I said, what happened? And he got blown off a tank. He was sitting on the front of a tank riding it. They hit a landmine and it blew him off the tank, and he was injured. So he went. He's got the scars to prove it. My father was drafted. I know I've spoken of that in the past, I think, on a Father's Day video, but if I have or have not, my father was drafted and reported for the draft. He was turned down because of me. The U.S. government apparently did not want to pay widows benefits and child support for the next 18 to 20 years, whatever. So, he was rejected because of financial reasons, not because he was physically unfit to serve. But I sometimes think about what my life would have been if that had not been the case. My childhood, Vietnam was a reality that was talked about, and it affected so many people. It affected the country. There were 58,000 U.S. soldiers who died in Vietnam. Another 300,000 were wounded, and 1,500 were missing in action. That's not to mention the hundreds of thousands of Vietnamese who were also killed. I think the estimated death toll for the Vietnamese was over 400,000. This was a massive loss, a massive waste of human life on all sides, and we gained nothing for it. There was no need for it at all. So, saying that Billy Joel should have made a political statement about this, I find is complicated. He wanted to do something that spoke of the brotherhood and the experiences of the soldiers. To inject politics into that would detract from that message. So there's a case to be made that he should not have been political, but given the amount of human suffering that was involved for no reason at all, for no good reason, this pointless waste of human life, that was done purely for political purposes and for no other good reason. It was just optics and, communism bad. We have to fight the communism. It was such a waste and such a failure on the leaders of this country that I can also agree with the fact that maybe he should have made something of a political statement about it, but it's neither here nor there. The song was written a long time ago. Damn, over 45 years at this point. This is a great album by Billy Joel. It's a very short album. There's only like 9 songs on it. But if you recall, before CDs became popular, albums were shorter when it was just vinyl, because storage space on the disc was limited for vinyl, as opposed to you can get an extra 15-20 minutes easily out of a CD for a few extra songs. I think the album itself reached 7 on the Billboard charts. Goodnight Saigon only reached like 50 something in the 50s, like 56, I want to say, 58, over like 56, 59, somewhere in there. I'm not sure. I don't remember the exact number. So it did well. It's critically acclaimed. It has a few detractors, but it is a good, solid piece by Billy Joel. And yeah, I highly recommend listening to it. As always, thanks for watching. As always, my stuff is crap. And until next time, good hunting.